All right, there's the bell. Nasdaq here gapping up 73.97.50s, getting a little bit of a run there. Initial first move out of the gate. Like I was talking about this morning, I think we get that first, kind of initial little pop there, and then we can kind of pull back here into 88.75s. Now, if we just run here straight up into 74.19 quarters today, we don't get a pullback here at all, then it most likely is going to end up being a no trade day for me, which I'm completely fine with here. But if we can get a pullback there, then I would be a buyer on that pullback. We got about 6 points to go to the downside in the S&Ps. Only about 10 points of a pullback here in the Nasdaq. So maybe Nasdaq gets a little bit through that level if the S&Ps want to pull back and tag the level at the same time here. So we'll kind of see what that ends up shaping up and looking like there. 74. All right. Nasdaq so far only 5-minute green bar on the day. And I'm going to keep an eye here on the, I got the Nadex markets pulled up on a screen there to watch, so we can kind of talk through some of that. Gold pulling back just a little bit from where it was this morning when we were talking through it. And watching for this pullback here in the Nasdaq. Again, if that can kind of line up with a pullback there in the S&Ps, that would be even better. So maybe first test of these 73, 88, 75s we pass on and see what the reaction ends up being off of that level and see if that's going to end up kind of cracking through a bit in order for the S&Ps to get the pullback to 28.30 quarters there. We'll see if that happens. Man, that divergence yesterday in the Dow and the S&Ps are solid. 25,600 area on the Dow ends up leading us 280 points higher. 25,880 is on the open and print there. All right, 5-minute red bars across the board here now. Again, we got that little bit of a push up at the open there, and then now starting to get that pullback. Again, I'm going to pass on the first test of 88.75s here off of the pullback. I want to kind of see that line up with a pullback there to 28.30 quarters in the S&Ps. Now, that's going to be something that may or may not happen. It may be super conservative of me to do that. But again, it is Friday, and I have absolutely no problems being super conservative on Fridays. And typically sometimes during the summer, like when we just don't get any kind of movement on Fridays at all, or it's really sloppy, choppy, unless I have positions on that need to be closed or managed out. Sometimes I don't even initiate new positions on Fridays at all. All right, Nasdaq pulling in a little bit closer there. Kind of cracked new lows there across the board in all four indices on a 5-minute chart. Let's see here. S&P's got about 2 points there. Nasdaq's got about 2 points. Those are not the same 2 points though. So far, lows have traded 89 quarters here in the Nasdaq. 89 quarters. It'd actually be kind of interesting if we could get a similar setup to yesterday, where we ended up with a divergence kind of as we came down, set the level, rallied up a bit, and then kind of came down and set the divergence about 15-20 minutes into the day there. That would be an interesting little setup to see occur here again this morning. That would be a little bit more of a double confirmation, having level plus a divergence there. And if we can get either the S&Ps and the Nasdaq, or S&Ps down, Nasdaq, some combination of the three. Again, there's really no pullback areas on the Russell at the moment, but if we can get some combination of those three markets testing their support levels with a divergence here in the next 13, 15 minutes, something like that, I think that'll be a really solid opportunity there. So we'll see here what this wants to do. Most likely NASDAQ comes back up, kind of retests that opening print of 97.50s before rolling back over, if we are going to trade into those support levels here. Let's take a look. Oh, we want to take a look at Lyft, right? Lyft had IPO here at the open, and so far no data in there. Anybody have any prices on Lyft IPO yet? I'm not getting anything. You can see maybe if yeah, price is 72, but is it actually trading yet? Oh, okay. When is it supposed to trade? Lou looking out with the CL trading down into 60.32s there. I want to see CL align with the markets, and I don't think the markets have necessarily stopped on that pullback yet. So maybe what ends up happening is crude oil comes down just a little bit more there. And then once it rallies back up through 60.32s, I think we should be fine there. I mean, that makes sense. Light off some fireworks. Do a little parade. 97 quarters there traded, so one tick off of the 97.50s. If anybody sees when it goes, like when it actually starts trading, just type it in there. We'll pull it up and take a look at it and see what it's doing. 89 quarters still there. Just tagged a low of 88 quarters. Again, I'm watching. We've got the S&Ps pushing down here, getting close to those 30 quarters. So we'll see if we can't get those to kind of line up. That was first test of those 88.75s there again. So let's see if we're going to push through that level. and then, like I said, establish some type of divergence there and then rally back through it. So low of 30 quarter just traded there in the S&Ps, a low of 823, so about 3 ticks off, and the Dow just traded there. So we did just establish some decent lows in place there. And I'm going to watch the NASDAQ here. I guess lift is going to be a part of the NASDAQ, right? It's a four letter tickle there. That's a very tongue twisty type phrase. Four letter ticker. There we go. I was struggling with that one. All right, S&Ps have tagged 30 quarters on the tick there. Dow here 822s, and let's see if we can maybe pay attention to the Dow here. NASDAQ pushing back up through those levels here. So at this point, we can start to look at buying pullbacks here. I think we've got everything we need in place with this pullback here. Traded 30 quarters to the tick in the S&Ps there. 2-point reaction so far. So we need to start looking to find some type of entry here into these markets. And I'm thinking of a divergence of some sort, maybe here in the Dow, or the last tag in the Dow of that 25,820 should be good there. Boom. Getting long the Dow right here, and want an immediate push back up through kind of those 820s there. If not, I will kill this out, wait for the next 5-minute bar. All right, let's see. Traded lows there of 08s. Let's see if we push up through 820s again. If we don't, stop losses will go in under 08s with about a 10-tick stop loss there. You could also pick up the NASDAQ there. NASDAQ just retested those 88.75s here. I chose the Dow here. And see if we can start to react off of that. And again, I'm kind of shying away from the NASDAQ a little bit. That Lyft IPO is going to be a part of the NASDAQ. I already have an Apple position on, which I do have a Boeing position on, but again, that is a swing trade, so it's not necessarily something that's going to be as impactful to the portfolio today, to whereas the Dow, I think, here has a little bit safer of a trading style here with the Lyft IPO coming out today. Nice 5-minute reversal bar happening there in the Russell. Nice development there going on in the S&Ps. 30 quarters traded to the tick there. NASDAQ here still like hanging right around that level. Dow up here just a little bit. I got filled at 25,819, so just 1 tick under those 820s. And I'm going to be putting stop losses here under those 08s. I want to give it just a little bit of time here, see if it's going to get any more legs or any more pushes down, and we might be able to get a little bit of a tighter stop before I put hard stops in there. But otherwise, I like this trade. It's got a decent risk-reward ratio here. We're in at 25,819s, and targets are up at 25,921s there. And overnight highs in there are 25,900, so it's a pretty decent price for us to push through by about 20 points there. I think it gives good risk reward. It's about a 100-point trade, and so far we got about a 10-12 cent stop in that. So 9 to 1, 10 to 1, somewhere right in that area. 25,921. Here you guys go. So I'll pull this down a bit. 25,921 there. So that's something. Let me take a look here at Nadex and pull up the Wall Street 30s here. So Wall Street 30s for today, 25,900s there. Prices are a little expensive today. They're currently trading like 37 on the ask. 200 by 50. So I don't necessarily like that as much. Let me take a look here. US Tech 100, 74.18s. Those are trading for 36. Again, not necessarily too great there. 73.94s. Can pick those up for right around 50. Those aren't bad. Spreads today are kind of wide here, and there's some interesting, like there's a one lot available at the 73.70s on the ask with like $6 and $7 wide spreads. So I don't like overall kind of the Nadex options at the moment here with this. At least for the 415s, those are the only ones I'm looking at there. Let's see if these are any tighter. S&P profit target is up above at 28.45.50s. 28.45.50. Nice, AV. So that was the swing long you got in from yesterday, right? So I'm not a big fan of Nadex here. All right, Nasdaq just put in new lows here. Keep an eye on this, right? Nasdaq puts in new lows, nothing else does. Dow's retesting kind of that 25,820 level here. We'll see if the S&P's retag 30 quarters, maybe get a push through. And then we will see if this is going to be the markets that we want to be long in. I may, in fact, add to a Dow position here. Let's see. Not yet. I thought about it and canceled. I'm thinking about it still. It needs to not crack that low, and I think it's going to. I'm going to give it the first test, 809s there, if it needs it. We really want to see this Dow start popping back up over 820s here. NASDAQ getting sold pretty hard. I'm assuming maybe something with lift in there. I'm not quite sure just yet. We're one tick off of lows there in the Dow. And I may just... I want to see this hold. Needs to start pushing back up over 820. We need S&Ps back over 30 quarters. But if you did not get into the Dow just yet, this is a good spot, I think, to get in here. And let this thing rip to the upside if it wants to. So there's a secondary entry into the Dow. Same type of trade setup as yesterday, right? Where we kind of come down, we set a divergence both in the S&Ps and in the NASDAQ there. And so far pushing back up through 30 quarters in the S&Ps and pushing back over those 820s in the Dow. NASDAQ here still the weaker one, not able to get back above those 88.75s. And again, you know, this is kind of one of those things where I had some deductive reasoning, I guess, if you will, as to why I didn't choose the NASDAQ here this morning and went with the Dow. If you took the NASDAQ, it is definitely a stop loss in the NASDAQ so far. The Dow has yet to stop here. We will see if that is going to happen here. We're not getting quite the reaction I want to see just yet here. We really need to start pushing higher and hold above these, or this trade is going to stop out here. And I'm going to go ahead and put stop losses in place down here in the Dow. We've got NASDAQ, S&Ps underneath. So I'm going to give this 15 points. I'm putting stop losses in 25.804, and boom, I'm out. And if we can get back above 25 820s, then I'll look at this position again. But so far down, that was a risk of 15 points, so down 75 bucks on that trade. Again, the risk reward ratio was there. It had about a 100-point profit target in there, which would be $500 per contract. I gave it just a few ticks over what I think it needed there, and we'll see if it ended up needing a few more ticks before it worked out or not. We'll find out in just a few minutes if we get back above 820s. If not, if we don't get back above 820s, like I said, I'm not really focused or looking for any kind of downside trades here. And Russell's still so far holding up there. Russell's holding up, has not gotten the new lows on the day yet. So we'll see here if that was a fake out, shake out there in the Dow for us, or if that's going to end up being a good stop loss and we kind of push down into 783s, that next level to the downside. And again, I'm fine with getting back into this trade. And I will give it one more shot at working here. All right. Yeah, crude oil is still continuing to slide a bit there. Dow traded 819s on those highs yet, or so far. Hasn't quite got back through 820s here, and I'm looking to get back in the Dow here. I think that's the same type of setup as what we saw yesterday. The Dow just ended up needing a little bit more room than the rest of than what we gave it there. It needed 3 more ticks, it looks like. And we'll see yet. We've yet to confirm get back above 820s or not. I don't have a fill in the Dow just yet. I got in at 19s. I got out at 04s. So I took a 15-point stop loss there so far in the Dow. All right, price starting to act like it wants to turn around there. Traded 820s to the tick there in the Dow. Still flat in the Dow at the moment. I have not added back into that trade just yet. I want to see it pop up through these 820s and then find some type of small time frame pullback there that we can step into. Again, I don't want to take this. I mean, I do, but I don't. I do want to take this under 820s to get a better entry here, but I also want the safer, more conservative entry into this trade as well. So it looks like we did get kind of shaken out right there. Needed a little bit more, 3 more ticks on that trade, but either way, regroup, find ourselves a new entry here into this market. So if we can pull back here to 820s now, I think that's a good looking trade. I also like the S&Ps here, so I may look at an S&Ps trade here, kind of coming into 30 and a quarter right there as we're pushing up through that level now. And those prior highs there. All right, so I like the S&Ps. Just traded those 30 quarters there, prior highs, 31s. See if it pumps up or not. Russell about to put in new highs on the day there. 31 quarters. All right, pullbacks are buyable here now. Just need to get a little bit of a pullback here in either the S&Ps or the Dow. S&Ps back in the 30 quarter, I like. Dow back into 820s, I like. if and when the Nasdaq can get back above 88.75s, Nasdaq will be better. I don't think it's as good. Again, talking about how that Lyft IPO is coming out today. A 4-letter ticker symbol. So that's going to end up being in the Nasdaq there. And I'm going to go ahead and put an order in here at 30 quarters in the S&Ps. 30 quarters in the S&Ps. If we can pull back and test that in the S&Ps, I want to have a position on there. And again, that's got good risk reward up to 45.50s. So I want to have that position on. We've got the solid divergence in place. We've got some strength coming out of the Russell here. So just looking to kind of step in and buy that pullback. We traded through the 31s here in the S&Ps, which I like. So just looking for a 30-quarter fill there in the S&Ps. We traded 30 quarters, did not fill me yet. That's going to be highly unfortunate. Are you serious right now? All right, got to bid this up. And it should be filled now. All right, boom. Finally got filled at 31.50s. We traded 30 quarters to the tick there. I did not get a fill and then had to chase this up. Finally got fills at 31.50. So I added about a point and a quarter to what my initial entry would have been, could have been, should have been. But it traded there, did not fill me. I had a limit order sitting in there. But the immediate like 1 point reaction off that level gives me the confidence to kind of step up there and be willing to take on that additional risk for this position. The Dow did not quite get back into 25.820s. We can still get pullbacks here, but that initial kind of move there in the S&Ps, 1 point like quick flush to the upside there, right off the 30 quarters, and I had to go ahead and step in and push that. And we'll see if that ends up not being the right thing to do. So far lows on this pullback here, 29.50s. And gonna watch for the reactions here. See if we start like kind of hanging out around this area or if we're gonna actually start pushing through them. We do have Russell getting new highs with nothing else getting new highs just yet. I think there's that does come into play in terms of it being an opposing divergence in terms of price, but I also do think that today we can look at that as the Russell being the leader for this move, and we'll see. I mean, if it does set up and trigger and we start to really see some weakness come out of the Russell, then we'll have to reconsider longs here, but otherwise I like the long side structure here. We've got, if this move holds right here, we've got stops we can put in place under 29.50s and S&Ps. We need to start pushing up through kind of 32 halves and then up through 33 halves, and we'll have a good solid risk reward ratio in that. So we'll have about a 2-point stop loss in the S&Ps with a 14-point target from my entry. So like a 7-to-1 risk reward ratio. I like the odds of that trade. Dow's not coming back, tagging that 820s. It's just not doing it yet. Nasdaq here still not over those 73, 88, 75s. And again, so I'm kind of staying away from the Nasdaq at the moment, and either playing with the S&Ps or the Dow here. I got shaken out of the Dow a little bit by about 3 ticks there. So switching over here to the S&Ps, I like the development in the S&Ps. And the risk reward ratio up to 45.50s in that trade. And again, this needs to start kind of pushing hip through this 32.50 level where we're kind of just flirting with right now, and then up through 33.50s, and I think we'll be good to go in there. If you were not as aggressive as me and you waited for the pullback, you got fills at 30 quarter because it did trade down through there. I just saw this initial first reaction off that 30 quarters and it started pushing on me. Immediate reaction right there. And I'm like, okay, we got to step in and bid this up a bit. So that's why my fill is at 31.50s. But nonetheless, I like the long side here. I've got a position in the S&Ps. I think positions in the Dow are also good. And in the NASDAQ, I would wait for over 88.75s. Yeah, so someone else just told me that I was losing audio as well, Lou. I mean, I can check to see what's up. Give me just a second here. Yeah, Boeing getting a nice move here. So Boeing 377 getting the nice push to the upside there. I like Boeing. Like I said, I was talking about that one earlier in the week and actually tweeted that trade out. So if you guys don't follow the Major League Trading Twitter account, it's at Major L Trading. So I tweeted out a screenshot of that position yesterday. And let me look into the live stream issue here for a quick second. So I'm showing good live stream health on my thing. So I'm not quite sure what the deal is there. I do think I need to restart my PC because I was lagging a little bit yesterday too, actually. I kind of want to see the S&P start pushing up through 3350s. That was the level I was watching for there. 3350s there. We traded so far 33 quarters here. We'll see if we retest these 30 quarters. If we retest 30 quarters and aren't able to get an immediate reaction off of that, then I'll start looking to put a hard stop in place. Again, we've got this kind of 2950 level in here on these lows. So either way, I'm getting out under 2950s. But I just don't have a hard stop in place right now because I'm just watching it. And again, we got to get through these 3350s. We got to start seeing some bids through 3350s. High 3350s, yeah. NASDAQ coming up to those 88.75s. Keep an eye on NASDAQ. We'll see if that ends up kind of turning around, giving us something there for an entry into the NASDAQ. Again, I don't like it as much as I do these other markets at the moment. But, you know, with the Lyft IPO, like I've mentioned, and stuff like that, it could end up being very, very volatile. We'll see. And I don't know about, like, I don't know if you guys are seeing it on your end, but I'm seeing like S&P moving like 50, like 2 and 3 ticks at a time, not like normal, like 1 and 2 ticks at a time, kind of stair stepping. I'm seeing like 2 and 3 and 4 tick movements at a time there. I don't have time in sales up to kind of see what kind of volume's coming through, but it seems like it's a little bit of a battle right here, which is like a little bit of cause for concern. But at the same time, it's also like if we're in the right direction here and it starts doing that kind of 3-4 tick skip to the upside, then it'll start moving really, really nicely in our favor there to the upside. So we'll see if that's going to end up being the case here. Russell coming up, about to put in new highs again on the day. NASDAQ trying to get through those 88.75s. We'll see if new highs in Russell there. It's unfortunate we got shaken out of the Dow down there. That thing's up now about 30 points from the entry here, back through 820s. And we'll see if S&Ps want to start pushing through these 3350s. So what I would like to see is I'd like to see a push through 3350s, kind of do that, you know, hop, skip, and jump deal up to 2836s. And then from 2836s, we can kind of go sideways for a little bit and then kind of get the breakout up into 4550s there. It almost looked like it stopped trading for a moment right there. It's kind of interesting. Crude oil here, looking like it's coming back up just a bit there. 60-20 threes. So still needs back up over 60-32s there. But I don't dislike a crude oil trade if we can get back up above there. Only problem is, first targets are going to be back towards the opening print there on that 60-57s before we get up to 60-97s. So risk reward may be a little bit lower than I would like in there. All right, Nasdaq getting a little bit of a reaction off those 88.75s. Russell pulling back a little bit off of its new highs on the day. And I'm kind of inclined to cut this position loose for some reason right here. We're not getting through those 33.50s. We're trying to pull back here. And I think that's probably the smart trade, is to dump this and reevaluate, but it has not stopped. It has not trailed. We're getting a little bit of a reason to do so with the Russell getting the new highs, nothing else getting new highs yet. We'll see there. A nice test of 30 quarters, quick reaction again off of 30 quarters. Let's see if this is going to finally give us the move that pushes through 33.50s here. If that 30 quarter is going to hold well, it should start pushing through these 33.50s right here on that pullback. I mean, what it should do and what it will do are maybe sometimes two different things. But I like the odds of us breaking through 33.50s this time on the push up through here. This should be, once we crack 33.50s, a nice little flush up into 36s. And if you got multiple contracts on, then 36s are going to end up being your first target on this trade. Nice, yeah, good move off of 60-16 so far in crude oil. All right, there's 33.75s, Russell new highs, Nasdaq pushing through 88.75s here. Let's see, we need the bid to lift off of 33.50s. We got a print over 33.75 so far, but we're looking for the bid to get over 33.50s there. The bid did not do it. Let's go. And this may be where I'm inclined to dump this position early. We need bids over 33.50s. Yeah. This is a patience tester right here. I kind of expected this trade to already be up at 36s. I guess it is only 10:09. Nasdaq starting to get a nice little bid over 88.75s there. All right. S&P's bid are at 33.50 by 75s. Let's see the bid lift off at 33.50s. Go. Can you get a bid over 33.50s? 33.50s. There we go. 33.75s getting bid there. Now we need to empuje. Push. Push. Nope, not yet. Oh, nice, Lou. 73.85. That's a good entry there in the Nasdaq. I like that. push. It's not. This is tough. I'm watching the dome here, and we're just getting a lot of selling pressure coming in right there at 33.50s. It's going to take a bit to chew through it. And that's what I'm saying. When we do finally kind of chew through this level, then it should just kind of blast off there. We should see a quick little hop, skip, and jump up to 36s, but we're just not getting it at the moment. Back under 30 quarters, I'm probably going to dump this position here. I'm not going to give it the full stop. It should be working right here, and it's just not. And I would much rather honestly just kill it right here, but it hasn't stopped out. But I really just want to kill it. Nice, Kalen. Yeah, crude oil reverse there. 60.06s. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of S&Ps right here. They're taking their sweet time. And to be honest, the reason I'm wanting to get out of this position is the fact that the Russell here just keeps pushing and then getting these like red bars that then reverse. And at some point, one of these red bars may not reverse, and then that ends up taking kind of the rest of the markets with it to the downside. And this trade ends up stopping out. But again, the other conflict of that is it hasn't stopped out just yet, and the risk reward is really, really good up to that point, up to profit targets. So I'm conflicted on that. If we can push through these 33.50s, then I'm going to most likely try and put a break even on this. 31.50s is my fill. If you guys got in around 30 quarters, either on this pullback right here, or on this pullback over here. So either you guys got in here on the 30 quarter pullback, or you got in down here if you got filled at 30 quarters. Then I think, once we kind of push up through here a little bit more, then I think you'll be good to go with putting stop losses somewhere right around 31 quarters, 31.50s. If we crack that, then chances are we're going to crack through the 30 quarters either way. But yeah, I like what Kalen's saying there. Kalen's saying safer entries up over 36s, which I have to agree with here. But at this point, we've got the position on. It hasn't stopped. It hasn't necessarily given us a hard, fast reason to get out just yet. So I want to let it work. It's testing my patience, but I'm letting it work. Boeing here moving nicely to the upside there. Nasdaq trying to keep pushing. I cannot talk today. $33.75s, prior highs 34s. Nice, Sean. I like that 28.50 entry. That's pretty solid, dude. Lows of 28, 2 ticks off lows. That's a money entry right there. I mean, we need to just go to targets already. Can someone call that in? Can we get like a 36 quarter print just so that we know we can get out at 36s? And that may actually end up being what I do here. Let's see how price reacts as we get up there to 36s. But the way it's kind of battling here and not doing what I want it to do, and Russell here maybe actually triggering on a divergence there. This low is at 31.50s here. I'm honestly thinking about just putting stops at 31s and calling it a day on this one. I'm also kind of excited too because I got a whole bunch of stuff sitting over here in boxes for like the camera and the mic and all that stuff that I want to play with. So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking of that too, and every time I look this way, I see it all. So I'm dealing with that too. $31.50s are that last little swing low there. And I may just go ahead and cut this at 31. I mean, I'm giving it the time, I'm giving it the room. It just needs to go ahead and start doing what it needs to do. Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, not a bad move so far. A little bit of a kind of rough morning there with the Dow. But, you know, really can't complain for a Friday. And that's the other thing too, is I don't want to, you know, I'm okay with a, you know, a couple $100 loss on a Friday, but I don't want to get into a position where I'm down, you know, $600, $700, $800 or whatever on a Friday. Or more, obviously, just because of the fact that, like I mentioned, you just kind of bring that with you back into Monday and kind of start, you know, trying to revenge trade or do whatever, and not something I necessarily want to do. And I've had some really, really interesting Fridays, like P&L swinging like $8,000 in the last 2 minutes of the day. And I just, you know, I don't necessarily like to do that anymore. Russell here a little bit weaker than it has been. Lower part of its 5-minute bars there from the highs. I mean, pretty much status quo here. S&Ps can't really push through these 3350s and get anything going. At this point, retest of 3175s should get bid. We just traded 32s there. I'm most likely going to go ahead and just put stops in here at 31s and call it a day. It'll be like a 2-tick stop loss on that if it happens. But yeah, retest of 3175 should get bid. We just traded 32s there on that. Nasdaq here still trying to push a bit. Boeing here breaking out nicely. Boeing up $4.65 on the day. I did not, unfortunately, Van. Yeah, I mean 189. I mean that's pretty much a scratch day, right? I mean I've got the little position on in Boeing for a 20-day swing. I probably should have more Boeing on today instead of S&P futures at the moment, but I mean we can't we can all aspire to be like Van. That's the motto for today. Hey, I'll give you a mic. All right, I think I'm gonna kill this. $31.75 should get bids. I'm gonna watch it trade and put stop losses in at 31s. It'll be a 2-tick stop loss. $31.75's on bid now. Let's see if it's gonna not hold. Bid should not lift off 31.75s. So I'm watching the bid ask right here as we came down to 31.75s. If that bid lifts off of, yep. Stop loss is in place at 31 there. I'll take the 2-tick stop loss on this trade. $31.75s are failing there, so 30 quarters probably should trade here. And then from that point, it's kind of open for whatever at that point. Russell here rolling over, coming off those highs. Again, that was one of the things that got us out of the trade from yesterday was, you know, the Russell getting new highs on the day, nothing else getting new highs. You know, got out a little bit early, I guess you could argue, on the Nasdaq yesterday. But again, you know, same thing here, using this to kind of lock in and get out about 2 points prior to what the stop would be or could be on this trade. So saving ourselves some money on the day using the same exact exiting strategy. So all in all, it's going to end up being a wash on that. But just took that stop loss there. So P&L on the day, down 25 bucks in the S&Ps, down 75 bucks in the Dow. And the Boeing and Apple positions are starting to work themselves out. So far on the day, just down, you know, $31 here total. And most likely not going to mess with any more futures here. I mean, we're 10.23 into the day. I'm completely fine. You know, if I'm down 100, 200 bucks on a Friday, you know, I'm completely fine with that. I'm not going to, you know, be shaken up by that at all. That's just, you know, the cost of doing business, commissions, things like that. So the trades have been there this week. I think I've been a little bit behind on trying to capture some of them. And again, you know, I want to make sure I go into the weekend nice and clean and fresh and ready to come back on Monday with a good clear head. So the reason I'm going to go ahead and take that stop loss and most likely end up calling it a day here in just a few minutes is going to be, I think, my best trade of the day and preserving that mental capital. 25,743. Yeah, I mean, I don't like any longs at this point anymore. We should have already moved if it was going to. Like this 5-minute red bar should not be there if we're going to go higher. I mean, sure, we can reverse this bar, but you know, you can't plan for like a 5-minute bar like this that just kind of erases all of the last like 30 minutes of, you know, pressure and momentum to the upside. Yeah, we could definitely go sideways here. I can see sideways. And if we do end up getting up to 36s, it's going to be like a really hard fought battle. I mean, if S&P's crack through lows, then I mean we're going to 26s. give me 1 second, guys. All right, sorry about that. I had to take that call. So I mean, we come down, we tested that 30 quarters again, and those prior lows there at 29.50s, we traded 29 quarters there in the S&Ps, and now starting to kind of pop back up again here. Maybe that was what the market needed, was that pullback to 30 quarters, kind of shake all of us out, and then it reverses this bar. But again, I mean, you can't necessarily plan for a move like that. So we either would have been out somewhere around 31s, or we would have been getting out on the stop loss down at 29 quarters. So, again, that's saved us 2 points here so far on that stop loss there. And maybe this goes, maybe it doesn't here. Nasdaq flirting right back with those 88.75s. So overall, just not the greatest of action I'm seeing today, and I don't think the capital is worth putting at risk here. And that being said, it most likely ends up working to 36s there, but I don't think the risk is worth it just to 36s there. I mean, you're looking at kind of like a 2, maybe 2.5 risk reward ratio, as opposed to getting up to 45.50s, which, given the price action that I'm seeing today, in pre-market, I thought, okay, perfect. We got some really good price action, really good strength, really good momentum kind of coming in, and I think we'll get those 45.50s. And then now today, after taking a look and seeing this price action and what the range is currently sitting at, which is 9.5 points, and we're closer to the kind of the bottom end of that range than we are the top end of that range. Most of the time so far, I don't see those 45.50s coming into play. And then that just leads me to go, okay, we can size a trade with risk reward ratio up to 45.50s. But if I don't see that being a viable option now, then I'm really just kind of like lying to myself that we're going to get there, if that makes sense. Yeah, absolutely, Kaylin. You have a good weekend as well. Nice little trade there in crude oil. That thing couldn't quite get back up above there, but you managed to pull out a decent little trade in that though. 60.32s, we got 60.31s, and then went straight back down here into 60.02s. Traded 60.02s to the tick. So I think crude oil was a little bit of a rough one today as well. 5-minute reversal bar in the Dow. That would be the only thing I see here. Traded 821s on those lows. So Dow, for whatever reason here, most likely on the backs of Boeing, is having a nice day. Boeing here up $6.21 on the day, 380.70s. And if you guys didn't check that out, the trade from yesterday that I tweeted out. Actually, let me see if I can find that. just so you guys can see kind of the structure of that options trade. Ba-dump, ba-dump. All right, Twitter not working. Yeah, that's for sure. Which is the best option? Personally, I like toss for options. So I don't know how to, like, what's the link? Copy link to tweet. Let's try that. See if that works. So, I think 2000. I mean, you should already have a toss account, right, for charting? Yeah, so I think you just have to get permissions approved, and I think the minimum is 2 grand. Is this Lyft IPO out yet? Can we have something to watch? Because it certainly is not the S&Ps here. Yeah, BA moving nicely. It's a really nice looking pattern in Boeing here. Van is going to be crushing it today on Boeing. Van's probably got like half of the volume that's traded on the day in Boeing. Let's see, what's the total number of contracts traded here? Let's see. So if I'm Van, I probably take maybe the 377.50 or the 380 calls. Let's see here. And all right, so 377.50 calls. So they've traded like 3,100 contracts on the day. That's total volume right now. So Van's probably got at least like 300 on. 150 if he's not feeling well. Oh, now he's got 0 on. Oh, then bought some 380s. So 380s, 7,800 contracts traded so far today there. I don't mind those actually. I mean, this is why we stalled under 380s though. I can show you. That's still a good position size. I can't knock the position size. But no, this is what I mean. This is why we're stalling right here under when we stalled under 380s. There's a level there at 379.48. So you can see I'm looking at the hourly chart in the bottom left there, or sorry, bottom middle. So 379.48, and then we've also got some resistance up here at 380.66 is kind of where we just ran into, and then a little bit more up here at 381.64s. But I do think we kind of get towards that 381.64 level. Let's see. Yeah, so briefly explain what an option is. So Trevor, I mean, if you have the pro course, then I kind of talk through, there's a little mini section on options in the pro course. Um, so basically an options contract, I mean, you can look at it like a number of different ways when it comes to like what it is. And it's just literally an option to either buy or sell um, that particular instrument. So the easiest way to explain it would be, so let's just take um, the S&Ps are a bad example. Let me find something like BAC here. Let me find. I want something like right around $100. Let me scan real quick. Nice, good work, Andreas. Tesla 290 calls. I'll take a look at that in 1 second here. Um, I like Tesla here. I mean, it's kind of into the downtrend, that downtrending 20 SMA there on the daily chart, 4 days straight up here. So depending on where it closes at today, I don't know that you need to take the risk to hold those over the weekend, to be honest with you. Um, I mean, we really haven't had an hourly pullback in this entire 4 days of uptrend yet. So I would honestly look for that first hourly pullback to put a position on in there. IV ranking there 44%. So you're going to lose a little bit of premium over the weekend, even if we open flat on Monday with the 290 calls. Um, and I mean, realistically, you're looking at so far total range on the week is right around $10. Like there's a tail here that kind of goes down to 254 and change there. But sorry. Um, I mean, realistically, this tail I don't necessarily consider as a viable. Uh, I mean, it traded down there. Don't get me wrong on that. But in looking at the overall range, I'm kind of just looking at, all right, we spent the most time down here, a couple tests of around 259.50s, and then so far we've tested up here kind of around 279s or so. So you're looking at a 10-point range this week, and you would need close to the same amount of range next week out of Tesla to profit really uh, at least decently on those positions given the premium decay over the weekend. So it's not something I would necessarily do here, but depending on where it closes at here, I think it can be 1 or 2 days more of base or a pullback next week and then kind of rip higher. I don't think it rips out like first thing Monday. Could be wrong, obviously, on that, but that's just kind of what I'm looking at for. Yeah, I mean, when you hit profits, just close the platforms. Don't even mess with it. 1 second. Nice. I mean, don't sell just because I said it's not something I would do. I mean, you obviously got to follow. Like I mean, I'm good with like obviously giving out like my thoughts and opinions on things like that, but um, at the end of the day, you guys have to make your own decisions when it comes to which trades you have on, which trades you're taking, and kind of leaving on and stuff like that. And if you have a solid strategy around like why you would either hold that position or put that position on, then you got to follow those rules. And that like that, I'm not just like picking on Ozzy for that. I'm just saying in general. that's applicable kind of across the board. All right. Oh, that's what I was doing. So let me find a stock here to kind of walk through like what options are. Let's go like 105. I want something that's like right around 100 bucks. NEWR. This thing should be optionable, right? Yes, perfect. All right, Trevor, you listening up? Calling Trevor. All right, perfect. All right, so I'm gonna walk through options here. This is not necessarily like I'm just picking this stock just because it's right around 100 bucks here. And again, you can see like if you look at this thing on the 987 tick chart and even on the 5-minute chart, I'll talk about that in a second. You can see that it's like low volume. Like, I mean, we've got two 987 tick like bars on the day on like Tuesday. Yesterday was like 3 bars. So far today is 1. So when you look at that, it's like, okay, instantly this thing is really light on volume, not something that I'm going to be looking to trade personally, but I just want to use it because it's right around 99 bucks. So volume on this thing, I would say, it's maybe 300,000 shares. Today, 137,000 shares. Yesterday, 539. Day before that, 690. What is this day right here? 319,000. So yeah, not something I want to look to trade. But it's got options on it, so we'll kind of talk through it. And I'll pull up the options chain here. So when it comes to options, like you've got obviously calls and puts. So if we drop down the expiration window here, or the options chain here, you'll see, okay, we've got some calls on this side, we've got puts on this side. And what we're looking at here is we've got the April monthly options expiration. So the third Friday of every month is when options expire. And you'll have other products like Apple that have weekly and even like Wednesday expiration contracts as well. And this number that's in parentheses here is 20, 49, 84. That just tells you how many days there are until expiration, right? And then you've got your center column here, which is going to be your strike price. So you can see we got 90, 95, 100. Again, on more actively traded things, like, I mean, you can see this has 15 contracts have traded, 17 contracts total on the day, right? For newer, on the call side. If you look at something like Boeing, like what we were just talking about a second ago for Van here, these options expired this week. So far, just this one 380 strike has traded 8,768 contracts. That's just one stock out of the entire Dow 30, and just one strike has traded almost 9,000 contracts so far, right? So if you're going to look to trade options, you're looking for something like this as opposed to the newer. But I'm going to go back to newer, and I'm just making some like quick distinctions here. So you can see the spread on this right now is basically about 12 to 15 cents, right? The spread is going to be the difference between the bid and the ask here. So like 130, 147, okay, 132, 149. So we're at like right around 15 cents. Market's tanking, by the way. So if we go back to newer here, and you could see on Boeing there was a whole lot more expirations as well available. And if you look at newer here, okay, you can see 260 by $3, 560 by 320. So the spreads are a whole lot wider. So when it comes to trading options, you want to have something that has the most liquidity that you can find. And B, you want to have a diversity in terms of your strikes. So you want, with this is 90, 95, 100, you want something that maybe gives you like dollar wide strikes or $2.50 wide strikes. If you look at something like Apple here, which I'm most likely going to have to close this position out, it's got $2.50 wide strikes here. And same thing with Boeing. Again, this has got tons of volume trading here. These options expire today, actually, so like $73 open P&L to the negative on that trade. So most likely we'll end up closing the Apple trade. But so those are some things you want to look at there. And you can see Apple here. I mean, it's got 2 3-cent wide strikes, or 2 or 3 cent wide spreads on each strike. Those are the things you want to look for initially when it comes to the options. And the reason being is that each options contract that you buy, right? So if you buy this option contract right now for $3, it's not actually costing you $3. It's costing you $300 because each options contract represents 100 shares of that individual stock. Now, there are some mini contracts, which we won't really get into, but those represent like 10 shares. I just have those excluded from my list. There's an exclusion feature in TOS that you can get rid of the minis. And so I've gotten rid of the minis since they were introduced, like, I don't know, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that. There's really no reason to mess with those. I mean, 10 shares is not like, it's not really enough to mess with. So anyways, with this, the stocks are trading, call it 99 bucks, right? You can buy, in essence, 100 shares of stock for $300. You can buy a controlling part of that 100 shares, which is basically a $10,000 position for 300 bucks. So it gives you really, really good leverage into this particular market. S&Ps came down, traded at 28.26 is there. NASDAQ new lows, Dow new lows, 2 signals in place there, and Dow pushing back through those 820s. Russell still holding up, did not get those new lows. So kind of a sloppy, choppy deal going on so far. So yeah, I mean that's the basis there when it comes to the options. The calls, if you're buying them, you want the underlying, which is going to be in this case the ticker symbol NEWR. You want that to rally. If you're buying the puts, on the contrary, you want that stock price to go down, and that's how you're going to make your money. And then there's a lot of other things that play into it: delta, gamma, theta, vega, all that kind of stuff. And then there's a number of different like ways to structure the options trades with multiple contracts and things like that. But if you're looking for just kind of the base overview of how the options work, it's a cheaper way to control a larger portion of, I guess you could say, notional value of that particular underlying for a much cheaper price. So the benefits there are leverage and kind of versatility with the strategies when it comes to options. The disadvantage at the same time, while it is an advantage, is going to be that leverage, because if you've got, say, a $10,000 account, you can control a whole lot of, let's say, Apple. You can control a whole lot of notional value with Apple. So you can take your account from 10,000 to 11,000 in like one trade. I don't want to say easily, but it would move pretty rapidly. But you could also go from 10,000 to 5,000 in the same exact amount of time. So that's one of the disadvantages to options. There is going to be the leverage there, and if you don't know how to use it. And then the other disadvantage is the time, because you have to choose an expiration, similar to Nadex. Nice. 28, 25, 76s kind of lines up right there with that 28, 26 level. Go work, Mike. Hopefully hopefully that answered some of your questions on options there a little bit. I mean, I can go obviously a whole lot deeper on options, and I do plan to with an options course this year. So market's pushing lower here. I'm gonna go ahead and dump this Apple position. So we need to sell, buy on this one, $1.19. Let's see if it can't get filled. All right, boom. So I got filled out of Apple on one side of that trade. The other side I can leave on just because there's no risk to that side of any assignment. Yo. All right. S&P is pushing down through that 28, 26 there. Russell just got the new lows as well. Get you pretty much. It's like a little 4.5 pound Maltese. The bark always that dog's bark always gets me for whatever reason. All right, 10:53 here. I think I'm gonna go ahead and call it a day. I mean, overall P&L on the day here, down about 73 bucks there. Got some profits in Boeing, and took off the Dow trade, took off the S&P trade there. Those ended up being a $100 loss. So pretty much an unchanged day for me, down 73 bucks there. I don't really consider that to be anything to write home about. And at the end of the day, it's a nominal value there. So what I think that ended up happening that was a good thing today is that we stuck to kind of our plan there with the Dow, and we were able to get out of that trade with a decent stop loss that still managed to put us in a good risk reward ratio up to targets. Unfortunately, we got shaken out a little bit early on that one. And then another thing I think that we did really well on was exiting the S&P. I think I could have done a little bit better job on the entry there on that trade, but I think the exit on that trade was pretty spot on there in terms of getting out and kind of saving ourselves a little bit more on that stop loss. And then the thing that I think that we did the greatest job at today was recognizing the fact that this market did not want to go higher. And I can say this kind of in hindsight was not going to go higher, and in fact did not go higher, and able to kind of recognizing that, taking our capital off the table and waiting for the next solid opportunity to present itself, which I don't think is going to end up coming today. I don't think there is a solid opportunity coming today for us. And again, it's Friday and time to pretty much start the weekend. I think it's supposed to be like 72 here today. It's already 57, and for me, I'm thinking that sounds like a good start to the weekend. So, with all of that being said, um, so far, great first week back here, kind of getting back into the groove of things, and getting some of the equipment in, and being able to stream and getting some of the time frames in, and everything that kind of needs to take place in order to ramp this up to the next level for you guys. So I'm excited for all of that stuff to come, and I'm gonna start unpacking some of these boxes here in just a few minutes, and start tweaking and messing with some of that stuff as well. And I'll keep you guys updated as well with, like I said, I'm in the process setting up a new account that I can trade with you guys here in the room, and kind of all that entails, and kind of we'll talk through that more as it comes into fruition here in the next few weeks. So, anyways, with that being said, great week trading, guys. Here overall, fairly flat to end the week there, up just a little bit there, but not enough um, to really write home about there. But overall, follow the rules, follow the plans, trading one lots, and was able to at least pull out a decent little profit there for the end of the week. So with that being said, I'll let you guys get started to your weekends. I'll be around this weekend. I got a lot of emails to catch up on and a lot of DMs. So if you do have questions, feel free to reach out there, or reach out to me on Instagram as well. I don't necessarily check Twitter. I just use it to kind of post some of those trade ideas up there for people. But if you don't follow the Major League Trading Instagram account, it's just at Major League Trading, and I'll respond to any DMs and stuff like that you guys got. So enjoy your weekends. I'll see you guys Monday.